All right, so we are live on YouTube. Now we can go and share this. Let me get the link. Actually, stream key. There we go. Everybody, if you guys are on YouTube, please let me know. Comment something so that we can see you guys are commenting.
Leave us a comment. Let us know if you can hear us as well. Make sure everything's working correctly.
I'm going to go live. There we go. Oh, on Instagram. Let's see. So we don't have nobody right now. All right. So we are live on Instagram too. I don't know if, well, from your phone, maybe you want to see some comments on Instagram, but it's going to be too much.
Maybe I can do that.
Okay. So we
I
do
can
have.
probably do that. Let me see.
Hi, everybody on Instagram. Please let me know if you guys can hear us. If you guys can see us correctly. Hi. Okay, let me share on Facebook. Let us know if you guys can hear us. Okay, you can hear us on Instagram.
Okay, yeah, I think they can hear us on Instagram.
Viewers on YouTube. Let me know on YouTube if you guys can hear us, please.
Okay, we have a hi from Giorgio, Aralis.
There we go.
A few others.
Okay.
Oh, we have a Cecilia on YouTube says yes. Instagram
Nice.
and YouTube sounds good. All right.
Hear us.
Perfect.
There we go. All right. So today, Nat, we kind of encountered too many questions. I think I guess I can ask you a question because I think I want to ask you this question too. Is there a difference between the Biden PIP and the military PIP, or is it all the same thing?
So they're both paroles in places. You essentially get paroled into the United States.
Mhm.
You gain a legal entry, but the eligibility criteria is different. The way that you apply is also different. The cost is different. So, for example, for military PIP, you need to be married or you need to be an immediate relative of a military member or former military member, so a veteran. The military PIPs don't have any cost, but the filing is totally different. You actually have to file with your local USCIS office. So the processing time varies all over the United States, just depending on your local office. You do get a parole. It's good for 1 year, but it's renewable. So that's different from the Biden parole in place as well.
Okay.
With the military PIP, you can essentially renew it for however long you want to. It also doesn't have any extra implications to DACA recipients the way that the Biden parole in place does. So with the Biden parole in place, there's a cost to it, $580. We all know it can only be filed online. You do have to prove your physical presence for the last 10 years, and it does have some implications for people with current, what I call quasi statuses, so like DACA or TPS or any other kind of status similar to that.
Okay, because I was telling people today, if you have DACA, like we're not advising like against PIP right now, but I just feel like we have a route already, kind of. Let's try to go because we just don't know what's gonna happen with this new law. It's pretty much what we're saying.
Right.
Like,
and I think it's important for a lot of DACA recipients to make sure that they're not essentially kind of playing themselves and putting themselves in harm's way. Something that I think a lot of DACA recipients discovered today in the groups when we were kind of trying to express and give out more information is that what USCIS has stated is that with the Biden parole in place, once your parole in place is approved, you're no longer eligible to renew your DACA. So you have to make sure before you apply for the Biden parole in place that there is absolutely nothing that's going to stop you from adjusting status. Because if you're unable to adjust your status within those 3 years that they give you the parole in place for, you're going to be stuck without any kind of protection, right? So, and there's a few scenarios that can cause this. If you have any disabilities that you're not aware of, and USCIS does have them, and they say, no, we're denying your adjustment, then all you have now is your parole in place. And once those threes are up, there's nothing else for you to apply to. Also, for those individuals that, one of the things that I'm not trying to put anybody out there, but one of the things important to take into account is that not everybody's marriage works out.
right.
Okay.
Right.
So if you're applying for the Biden parole in place and somewhere along the way things don't work out, and now you no longer have a spouse to adjust through,
Wow.
you're stuck in the same scenario.
You
You
think of
could be riding out those 3 years and then not have anything else to fall back on. So for us DACA recipients, my TPS recipients, really take that into account before you go get excited and apply for the parole in place right away. Make sure you're weighing out the factors and the risks, and make sure that this makes the most sense for you. You're a DACA recipient and you already have an AP pending. I would say just wait out for your AP to get approved, especially if it's been pending, 3 or 4 months. You're pretty close to it getting approved anyway. And
right,
that way you're not putting yourself in a situation where you have to pick between parole in place or DACA. So if you do advanced parole, you get to keep your DACA and you get to keep renewing your DACA
right.
while you're doing the job status. And if worst case scenario adjustment of status doesn't work out, you have your DACA to fall back on. So
I
it's
didn't
really
even
important
think.
for people to take that into account.
Yeah, some marriages do not work, and then we're stuck in a situation where we don't know what we got to. That was a good one. I didn't even know. Are you guys okay on Instagram? So somebody said that they can't hear us. Can you guys hear us? Let me know, please.
I can hear. So it looks like some people can hear, maybe some can't.
Okay, some people said they can't hear.
Okay, we're getting a few yeses now, so I think
Yeah,
we're good.
cool. YouTube, everybody's good on YouTube. I'm trying to share it on Facebook. If you guys, sorry that Facebook is not working to ask questions today. But yeah, that's a good one. I didn't know that. I mean, yeah, I mean, like sometimes marriages do not work, and then we just won't have nothing to fall back on. So I think, like I said, we have to make sure that we are able to do these things. Every time that we get a new law, we go into this frenzy, we start acting like crazy, and we just have to take it easy. Today's been a long day. Take it easy. I get it. Um, Abraham says,
Yeah,
do AP instead of PIP.
I would say, listen, I would say sit down and kind of just look at your situation.
Mhm.
If you're somebody where you know that the minute your PIP is approved, you're going to apply for adjustment of status, and you don't have any inadmissibilities, then there's not really much risk with going with the Biden parole in place. But if you're not 100% sure that you're ready to file your adjustment of status like right away, if you're not sure of whether you have triggered a bar at any point of your life, if
Mhm.
you have any kind of criminal history you're unsure of how would be looked at with adjustment of status, if you've been in removal proceedings or had an executed removal order, a final removal order, you're not too sure how that's going to be treated again. Everything you should be looking at is about the adjustment of status, not really the PIP, because the PIP is just like a stepping stone. It's a way to get you to adjustment of status. So you want to make sure that you're 100% sure that your adjustment of status is going to go good and it's going to be successful before you go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to trade out my DACA for this parole in place.
Okay, we have another question here. Marisa, can someone who has a voluntary return under FOIA be eligible for PIP?
So it depends. It all depends on whether that person was in the United States before that voluntary return and how long they were in the United States before the voluntary return. The reason why it depends is because voluntary return is really just what we say locally like a turnaround or a throwback. It means you were trying to get into the United States and then the Border Patrol stopped you and said, turn back around, go back. There's not a formal proceeding like an expedited removal or deportation or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were here in the United States before that voluntary return and you were here for at least a year without status, then that shows CBP and USCIS that you were here, you left, and then you tried to come in unlawfully. That triggers a permanent bar. So for anybody who has a voluntary return on their FOIA, make sure if that voluntary return was like basically if you were never in the United States before that voluntary return, then you're good. But if you were in the United States before then and it was close to or more than a year, then you're, kind of in trouble there. And I would stay away from PIP.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one right there. We just have to our choices. We just have to. My God, I'm sorry, my kids just came from the mall. We have another question on Instagram. How soon after PIP is approved can we do AOS?
Immediately, as soon as you have your documents ready to go.
That's
If
what I'm
you're
saying.
already married to a U.S. citizen, as long
Mhm.
as you have your evidence and you have your forms ready to go, you have your medical exam, you can go ahead and sit it out. So if you're sending in your PIP application, don't sit around and wait for it to be approved. Immediately start working on your adjustment of status.
Right. It's the same thing that I tell you guys when you guys are applying for a regular AP on the DACA. You know, as soon as you should have your AOS packet ready to go. As soon as you come back and have your I-94, your legal entry, we need to send that packet out as soon as possible. So it's pretty much the same thing. You guys just have to be ready. We just don't know, you know, so like some the lady said earlier today, that you know, maybe there will be lawsuits, you know, maybe it will be stopped somewhere else, so, you know, and we just don't know. And we always want to
Right.
give you guys the best option, or you know, the most secure way to do this, like, you know. We have another question here. Is advance parole for emergency use only, or is it just I want to visit my family in Mexico that I haven't seen in over 10 years? Is that a good reason to apply for AP? So advanced parole is for emergencies, is for work purposes, humanitarian reasons. I think those options that we have are very is the correct word, like broad. Like we don't you can do pretty much a lot of things, you know. If you have family that you haven't seen in a couple of years, it has to be like your grandma, you know, maybe your sister. I
But
wouldn't
you have to have that humanitarian reason backing it up. So you can, I mean, you're not going to get an AP approved by just saying, I have this family member I haven't seen in a long time and I want to see them. Usually you want to have like a little reason behind it. You know, if is this a family member that's very, very elderly,
Mhm.
and might have some health issues? Doesn't have to be something like, you know, hospice related, but if they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they have mobility issues and you haven't seen them in a long time, you know, just get that documentation from their doctor and then you can go ahead and move forward. But I think we're going to try to focus on the PIP
Okay.
questions today because we're a little time limited. They already told me.
Let's see. Ariana says, do you guys know an estimate of the whole process, including AOS with PIP?
So we're talking about estimate time. With time estimate, it's a little hard to
Tricky.
give because PIP is so new. So with PIP being so new, we don't know how quick or fast it's going to be. I will say we are seeing, you
Yeah.
know, we're seeing signals that it's going to be pretty quick with the PIP. Adjustment of status can go anywhere from 4 months to 18 months, but
Yes.
the most common turnaround time we're seeing is about, I would say, 6 to 9 months is like our average. In terms of cost, PIP is going to run you 580. And then adjustment of status, depending on if you already have a petition already or not. If you don't have a petition, it's 675 for the petition and then 1440 for the adjustment of status. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. For any of my DACA recipients, TPS recipients out there that are 100% sure that they're admissible for adjustment of status and that they will file adjustment of status in time, if you get the PIP and then you do the adjustment of status, I highly recommend that you include a work permit application with your adjustment of status. Don't bother applying for the work permit under PIP, that C11 category.
Mhm.
It's not worth your time. Go ahead and just focus on the adjustment of status right away and file for the work permit through adjustment of status. It's less expensive, it's only 260 and it's going to be given to you for 5 years, which you're going to be able to hold on to until they give you that adjustment status approval, right?
No,
So I would skip the work permit under PIP unless you know you're delaying. If you're going to delay your adjustment of status for whatever reason, which I really really don't recommend you do, then that would make sense to apply for that work permit under the PIP. Because remember, you can't renew your DACA, you can't renew your TPS once you get the parole in place.
yes, and that's a very 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 good point. Like just that right there. If you just happen to say, well, you know, I want to have my I-94, my legal entry, whatever. I don't have no way to, you know, adjust. I don't have a spouse. I don't have, you know, whatever. Um, I'm gonna apply for the PIP just for the hell of it. Don't do that, because then you're gonna be, you know, um,
I
I
have
don't want
another question here from Instagram. I'm just gonna address this one quick. It's
to.
from Jackie. It says, it is definite that you can't apply for DACA then if you apply for PIP or for whatever reason you can't do AOS. It is straight from the USCIS website. So unless USCIS for some reason decides to change their mind on how they're implementing this program in the future, as of right now, they have stated very clearly, and they even have the question is made for DACA recipients, and it says, if your parole in place is approved, you will no longer be able to renew your DACA. Any renewals that you submit will be declined by procedure, like by discretion. So they're going to go ahead and decline those renewals if you get your parole in place approved. So that's why we're, very, again, we're kind of repeating the same thing over and over because we want to make sure you guys understand how important it is for you to evaluate things before you go and apply for something right away.
Hmm. Somebody, something I've been seeing a lot about college graduates. What is that? Is that not? That's not the same thing, right? What is it?
No, and I actually have seen a lot of that as well. So I've seen a lot of people getting confused and thinking that parole in place is like for spouses of US citizens and also for college graduates.
Hmm.
And the reason why people are getting confused is because when PIP was announced back in June, the Biden administration announced a few other things. They announced, like, for example, that they were giving more funds
Yes.
to historic Hispanic colleges. One of the things that they announced was that there was going to be an easement, so an easier way for DACA recipients, dreamers, or anybody that has pretty much grown up here and gotten an advanced degree, like a bachelor's, master's, and above, to go
Yes.
ahead and apply for temporary non-immigrant employment visas. Keyword there is temporary and non-immigrant. So not for an employment-based visa where you can get a green card, but for something like an H-1B, for example. Now, they haven't really implemented a new program. What they did is they grabbed something that's existing. It's called a D3 waiver.
Hmm.
And they basically just told their officers through something called their um, foreign, Jesus, I can't remember, foreign something manual. I
Hmm.
call it the FAM. They basically put verbiage in there that says anybody who has gotten an advanced degree within the US, here should be recommended for a D3 waiver if they need it. The reason you would need a D3 waiver is because if you've been here undocumented, or if you got DACA after 18 and a half, after 19, then you
Hmm.
accumulated enough unlawful presence so that when you leave to do your interview to get that temporary non-immigrant visa, you trigger a bar. You're going to trigger either a 3-year bar or a 10-year bar, depending on
Nice.
how much unlawful presence you accumulated. What that bar does, it basically says that they shouldn't give you the visa. And so the D3 waiver is a way for them to say, we're going to go ahead and waive this. We're going to allow you to get your H-1B visa and then use that H-1B visa to return to the US. Now, it's really, really important for any DACA recipients that are looking into this. Please know that unfortunately, even though they meant well, they didn't really do much. It really only opened it up for somebody who maybe has 1 year or less of unlawful presence. So
Mm.
before this, we knew that anybody that had gotten DACA before 18 and a half could pursue these routes. Now we know that anybody that got DACA from 19 and less can pursue this route. The reason being is that this D3 waiver is not gonna waive your bar. It's just gonna allow you to get the visa. So when
Mhm.
you get the visa and you come back in, you're still gonna have a 3-year bar. You're not gonna have a 10-year because nobody over the age of 19 who got DACA after 19 should go for this. Nobody who's undocumented should go for this.
Right.
Only those who have gotten DACA or TPS before the age of 19, they would have gotten less than 19 actually. They
Mhm.
would have triggered a 3-year bar when they leaving. Now, the H-1B, when you come back, it's renewable. You can get up to 6 years from an H-1B. So that means you have time for you get to grab that H-1B and turn it into an employment visa for
Hmm.
anybody because you can wait out the 3-year bar.
Right.
Essentially, the 3-year bar starts when you leave the United States to go to your visa interview.
Mhm.
So when you come back, you already have a 3-year bar, but you can wait for it, like basically wait for it to expire while you're here. Once it expires, you're eligible to go ahead and do adjustment of status or do an employment-based visa.
Mhm.
But if you're undocumented or you got DACA or TPS after 19, then when you leave, you trigger a 10-year bar. And your
What's
H-1B can only last you up to 6 years. So that's not going to work out. You're going to run out of your H-1B before you ever get the chance to adjust status. So they really didn't do much for us, to be
right?
honest. All they did is up to a
Yeah.
little segment of people. We were hoping some more programs. We're still hoping that they might implement some more programs. But for right now, they really didn't do much for us. And that's completely separate from parole in place. Has nothing to do with parole in place.
That's a lot of people asking about that, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? That's not the same thing. Like,
Mm-mm,
we
not
have
at all.
questions on Instagram or okay. So if I already apply for AP, just waiting because that's for Okay, so I guess this is like a question that everybody's been asking today. If I already applied for AP, just waiting for the response, I am married to a U.S. citizen. Can I also apply for the PIP, or as soon as I get my legal entry, do AOS?
That goes back to what we've been talking about, right? You got to evaluate, see what's best for you.
Mhm.
Make sure you don't have any admissibilities. If you're even have the like even if you're uncertain whether you have an inadmissibility, you should stick to advanced parole. But you're 100% certain that you have no
What
inadmissibility.
is a common inadmissibility that we might have? Like,
So common in it, honestly, the most common one, again, with people who entered without inspection is the fact that sometimes your parents took you in and out, right? So if they took you in and out of the United States, you don't know if there's a record of you being in and out of the United States. You don't know whether they know that you triggered a permanent bar. Did you trigger a permanent bar? Yes, you did. It's not whether the USCIS or the Department of Homeland Security knows about it.
right,
Other inadmissibilities that people aren't aware of, criminal inadmissibilities. If you, for example, big one right now because it's legal in the United States is marijuana use. If you got any kind of charge,
wow,
even if it was dismissed for marijuana use over 30 grams, it can cause you a lot of issues with AOS. They can totally say, nope, not gonna go ahead and move this forward with you because they're very big on drug use. If you got charges for like paraphernalia that was not related to marijuana use, like other kind of narcotics or drugs, then yeah, AOS is going to be really hard for you to do. I wouldn't risk the Biden parole in place in that sense. I would just do AP.
yeah,
There's also medical inadmissibilities. Those are very hard. I mean, those are not very common, but they are there. And then again, guys, there's always just the unknown. The unknown if things aren't going to work out.
Mhm.
You don't know what comes in life, so it's just like I said,
I,
just be very, very sure that you're eligible for adjustment status and you're willing to go ahead and pretty much apply for it right away because you only got those 3 years to work it. Somebody
um,
here, Isaac, says, how can we do a one-on-one consultation to see if this is best for me? We have PIP specific consultations that you can book for. I think we have the link in our bio,
yes, it
I
should be
believe.
in our
Yeah,
entry. It should be all over Facebook. Just search PIP, and it
yeah.
should.
It's in our Facebook groups, link tree. It'll say PIP consultation or BPIP consultation. So you can go ahead and book there. We'll meet with you. We'll talk with you one-on-one. That's what we were doing all day today. Go over your particular circumstances and then tell you, how much of a risk it is for you. See if it makes sense for you. It's
Yeah.
going to be different for each person. This is not a one size fits all kind
Right.
of scenario.
I guess Alberto's question here. A spouse of a U.S. citizen with DACA and a provisional waiver approved, waiting for an interview appointment in Ciudad Juarez.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to complete the sponsor process or do PIP?
Well, I mean, let's see. Besides the thing that I keep repeating, which is check your inadmissibilities, which you should be doing either way. Because if you're thinking of doing the consular route, I mean, if you're thinking inadmissibilities is unsafe here with
Yeah.
adjustment of status, it's definitely a little dangerous abroad. Remember that waiver that you have, your provisional waiver, it's only a waiver for unlawful presence. It doesn't waive any inadmissibilities. Okay, so
Right.
take that into account. I would definitely say I would much rather you do the AOS than do the consular process for sure. So I would say if you're between consular and BPIP, the Biden PIP, do the Biden PIP.
Right.
You have a 601A approval as well. So one of the things I'd like to mention that we got from, well, we were able to get on phone calls with USCIS. They held phone calls and video calls. They let us know, they were pretty clear, we are going to be prioritizing people who have
Yes.
approved or pending 601As. And
Mm-hmm.
there's actually, when you're filling out the form, there's a section that's going to ask you for that case number or the receipt number for your 601A. So make sure you fill it out if you do. But yeah, if you have an approved 601A and you don't mind spending the money for a PIP and then spending the money for adjustment in the US is always going to be safer than consular.
So you would say something like everybody that's gonna try to apply for PIP should have done a FOIA maybe before we all this time, or like do a FOIA, because I feel like that's how they would even know if they're barred, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
at this
I mean,
point,
yeah, if you have a FOIA, definitely take a look at it. If you haven't filed one yet, the FOIAs take about a year or so. So I'm
this is
not
the
sure you can
thing.
get one done
I
yet.
always tell you guys to get your FOIA, it's free. Natalie has made a video, and you guys just don't listen to us. But
But
yeah,
for
because
now, I mean, listen, you're not going to get a FOIA done in time. So the best thing you can do is interrogate your parents.
honestly.
Like I know some of y'all came or you were small, you don't remember how you came, who you came. I know some of you guys were given NyQuil and driven over the border.
Mhm.
So definitely interrogate your parents. Ask your parents, how did I come? When did I come? Was I ever in the United States before the last time we came? Who
Yes.
brought me? Did you ever take me back, even if for a day? Ask them
Hmm.
all these questions. These are things that are important for you to know about your immigration history so that you know what you're getting into, for sure. Um, Let me see if I see any other questions. Um,
Ariana's asking, what would be an example of the 750 word affidavit they are requesting?
oh,
Uh,
that's a good question. Okay. So what I have been kind of, letting our consults know that have been consulting with us is that you should let them know how you're eligible, like the straight up eligibility that you're married to a U.S. citizen. Let them know since you've been here. But then this is where you add the human factor. This is where you add that extra as to how they can use their discretion. Why are you deserving of PIP, essentially, is what you're answering. So you really want to focus in on things that make you look good,
right.
favorable factors. So, kind of like market yourself a little bit, right? Talk about the positive factors that you bring to the table
Mhm.
as a contributing member to society, as a family member within your group, as a spouse to your US citizen. They always want to hear, like, how is your US citizen spouse going to suffer if we don't give you parole in place?
Right.
If we don't give you the stability of a pathway to a green card?
Hmm.
If you have kids, talk about, your kids, talk about how you provide for them or take care of them. If you take care of, elderly family members or other family members that rely on you, children with, disabilities or other abilities, are you a leader in your community? Do you provide any kind of community service? Are you, a contributing member to a religious group, to your church? Just talk about the extra things that you do. Do you volunteer coach for your kids' soccer team? Are you super active in your, daughter's PT at school? Do you, feed the homeless every year for Christmas? Do you volunteer with a nonprofit? Um, all of those factors that
Don't
kind of
say
just
you were
make you
together. Like,
sound good,
don't say you were together.
right?
With the
And
comment.
if you don't have a group that you volunteer with, you can volunteer with Dreamers Together, and now you got something to write. So,
Okay,
but those are
Elizabeth.
the kind of things you want to focus on for that section. I would say pull up a Word doc or a Google Doc, write it up first, and then
Hmm.
copy and paste it over. Does have to be 750 minimum, and you can't go over 2,000. If you're gonna type up something very specific, like you take care of, you have children with disabilities, or you take care of a parent with a disability, make sure you have a document to upload to kind of back up that reasoning.
Hmm. So Elizabeth, that's a question. Oh no. Ask the parents to be as truthful as possible, withholding information is to make the issue go away. That is true. Definitely
Yes.
true.
Super, super true, super important. You got to sit down with them and tell them, listen, if you don't tell me what happened and exactly how it happened, you could actually be hurting me. You could be
Yes.
getting me into a lot of trouble. I need to know.
So William has a question too. He says, what about deportation? My wife had a visa lost and after 9/11 came back 2 times, was deported 2 times, fingerprints in 1 time, and she came back. Been here for 20 years since, married a year to me, tried FOIA in January in nada. Can we get PIP? Wow.
So she was deported, which
Twice.
means she had an executed removal order. USCIS has been very, very clear. If you have an executed removal order and then you re-entered without inspection, you are ineligible for Biden parole in place.
Wow.
So they have been very, very clear with that. You can look that up in the Federal Registry Notice. You can also look it up on their FAQ page. I suggest that you read up on the FAQ page on the USCIS website. It's under USCIS Keeping Families Together,
Hmm.
and look for those questions pertaining to removals. But they have stated that if it's an executed removal order, and executed means you had a removal order pending or final, and you either were removed forcibly or you departed on your own accord. But
Hmm.
you basically left the U.S. with a removal order on in your history, and then you came back without inspection. They're not. There's not even. They're not even looking at it as, oh, provide us positive factors that may make us kind of look the other way.
Right,
They're
right.
saying that's a no-go.
Oh man. So what would be like an ideal thing here? I think try to can you close these
That
or
that one is hard.
we should just talk to one of the lawyers in our group, preferably Charles
Yeah, I
Cook.
would definitely, yeah, with that kind of history, I
Yeah.
would definitely reach out to Charles Cook.
Yes.
Um, I would definitely reach out to any of our attorneys on our recommended list. And they're gonna likely do the same thing. They're gonna run all the FOIAs for you. They're gonna run FBI, OBIM, CBP. They're probably gonna run a FOIA with EOIR as well. If she
Yes.
has an alien number, you can look up her alien number on the EOIR website, and then you'll see anything about her deportation orders there. But they're gonna run all those FOIAs first because they need to know exactly what's on her history and how what kind of removal order she received, when it was given to her, before they can look at your options. But all of the lawyers on our list are high integrity lawyers,
Yes.
honest, transparent, so they'll let you know how it is.
What if I miss my so somebody said, what if I miss my consular appointment in Ciudad Juarez with an approved waiver? Now waiting for a rescheduled appointment. Should I apply for PIP or AP?
Either or. Again, it all comes back to the same thing, and it's about checking for inadmissibilities, um, whether you're doing it here or whether you're doing it on consular process.
So they
William added some more information here, though.
let's see. He said,
She
was a
was
guy
removed for both times, he says. Okay, so then you might not actually be talking about a deportation. You might be talking about a voluntary return.
right. Okay. Yeah.
So those are two very different things, William. And no fault to you because immigration is difficult and all these terms, nobody really,
I don't
unless you're in it
I
in a
don't know.
day out, you won't know the difference between one thing or the other. So if she was removed at the border, if this is what it sounds like happened to her, if she was coming into the United States, she got caught and
Mm,
they held her for a little bit. They may have fingerprinted her, they may have not, but she got held for maybe a couple hours and
mm,
then they said, okay, go ahead and turn you back around, send you back. Sometimes they put you on a little bus, they get you close to the border and tell you to walk back. If that's kind of the scenario, that sounds more like a voluntary return,
yes.
not really a deportation or an expedited removal. And some of those don't show up on people's records because it just depends on what the Border Patrol felt like doing, if they felt like registering it or not. But yeah, definitely. Oh, he ran the FBI FOIA. Okay, yeah. No, when it comes to those kind of things, you want to run the two big ones you want to run are the OBIM FOIA, which is Office of Biometric Information Management. For that, you're going to need to get a fingerprint scan, send it in. And there's like a consent form you have to sign as well, but that's in our AOS group. You can download it from there.
Yes.
And then the CBP FOIA, you're definitely going to do. Heads up, both of those FOIAs take a while. The CBP one can take up to a year, but it's well worth the wait because you need to know what is on her record before you move forward.
Yes. Everybody should know what you got on your records. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah,
it's
those kind of when people come at me, tell me that that's kind of the history or that's what happened with them, you definitely want to get those FOIAs done first.
the list of
List
lawyers,
of
William,
FOIAs.
are in they should be pinned at the top or just search lawyers in the group and they should pop up. I will post a
In our
lawyer.
featured posts, I think.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
Let me see
Well, we
another.
have one from Mariana Romero.
Where's that at? Ariana Romero. Okay.
Let me see if I can. Oh, you got
Is
it.
it? Yeah.
So, as a DACA recipient who recently renewed and had their biometrics done in April 2024, can we reuse the fingerprints for food? They probably will.
Yes.
I mean, it's not your choice, not whether we can or not. It's their choice, but most likely they will.
Mhm. Easier. I mean, it's gonna be crazy about. Oh my god, I can't even. Don't even want to imagine. I have a question for you on Instagram. Jackie said, with multiple entries before 97, exclude me from AOS, which means I shouldn't bother with PIP. I have school records that show multiple entries. What does that mean by school
Or
entry? School records?
school records. So I mean, that she's probably showing that she like had school here and then had school abroad and then had school here. Like she went to school in both countries.
Were those
So what
the
you want to make sure of is that the last time you left the US before coming in. So not your last entry, but your last departure from the US needs to have been to be 100% safe before April of 1997 If it's after April 1997, that's when a lawful presence starts counting. But depending on the jurisdiction,
Right.
sometimes they can count before or not. But you said 1997, so do you know exactly when it was that you last departed the United States? So again, not your last entry, but your last departure. Your last departure was before the end of April 1997. You're good. The only thing you may want to make sure of is that you have proof that you left then, because
Yes.
that can't come up. We've already seen a few cases where USCIS has the assumption that you left and re-entered after 1997. So they'll ask for proof. They'll say, we need to see that you were not in the United States after April 30th, 1997. And so make sure you have proof of that. If you have school record, you should be good, but you just want to make sure.
I have another question for you on Instagram. I had planned to submit my DACA renewal next month since it expired in February. I'm eligible to apply for PIP. Should I go ahead and submit both DACA and PIP?
DACA's taking a little long right now. I mean, if money's not a factor, I would send both. If money is not a factor, I would definitely send the DACA renewal. Actually, if it were me, like if this was me personally, I would send my DACA renewal first, and then I would send my PIP. I would try to see if I could my DACA renewal approved before my PIP gets approved. Because here's the thing: if your PIP gets approved really, really quick, and your DACA renewal is still pending, you will not get that DACA renewal approved, and you will not renew DACA again.
Right.
So that means you're going to have to hurry up and get another work permit from AOS
Mm-hmm.
or from the PIP. And remember, 3 years is your limit. So if I were a DACA recipient and my DACA is expiring like the next couple months, I would approve my DACA. I would renew my DACA first.
So Lucky says she left in 94. So that means she's good, right?
Oh, you're
Because
good.
yeah.
Yeah, if you left in 1994 and then you didn't come back in until like much later, like after 1997, you're good. Just like I said, make sure you have proof that you left, or make sure that you have proof that you were abroad during that time.
Somebody said yes. What is PIP? I'm new here. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. You want to take that one, Vanessa?
Mm-mm.
No.
Like I was gonna just do it, Pio the DACA.
Okay. So parole in place is actually an existing discretion that USCIS has. They can parole people in for different reasons. There's different parole programs that exist, just not many for people already in the US. The main one that was here or existed before was the military parole in place, which was for family members of a current or former military members. But
Yes.
this new Biden parole in place, what they're calling it, which is keeping families together, well, everybody else calls it Biden parole in place. The Biden parole in place is essentially for people, regardless of their current status, that are married to U.S. citizens as of June 17th of 2024 and had already been in the United States as of June 17th, 2014. So you need to be married to a U.S. citizen by that date, and you need to have been in the U.S. the past 10 years, and you need to prove all of that. Additionally, it's also for stepchildren of U.S. citizens, as long as their undocumented parent, biological parent, married the U.S. citizen before they were 18, and they were under 21 and unmarried at the time of the June 17, 2024 cutoff date. There's an exception to that if you have CSPA protection, but we won't get into that.
Yes. Let's see another question. So we're gonna save both of these lives on YouTube and Instagram and on Facebook. You guys can just kind of like go back and we watch them. We answer most of these questions already. All of these questions we pretty much answered that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. Someone said, "What if we just got married?" You just got married. It's not going to count. You need to have been legally married on June 17th or before.
Yes.
One other quick one: can one apply for PIP even though the petition application is still processing? You can apply for parole in place regardless of whether you've submitted your I-130 or not. You can submit your I-130 before. You can submit your I-130 during or after. If you haven't submitted your I-130 yet, I would hold off until after your PIP is approved, because then you can just submit one-step AOS, which is your I-130 with your 485. Those tend to get approved a little quicker than just the I-130s on their own.
Nice. Let's see. Where can I apply for PIP? And that's to go to Mexico, correct? No. So you're all wrong. You can apply for PIP online, and you make sure that everybody, something that Gloria was saying today all day too. Make sure you guys all have a USCIS account. Everybody needs to have a USCIS account to make just everything easier. Um, because to get back into those accounts is a hot mess, and we don't have time for that. Make sure you guys have your USCIS account, your passwords, your keywords, whatever it is. Make sure you have a USCIS account, because for this new law, you have to file it online, and you're gonna file it through your USCIS account. So it's not to go to Mexico, Nelly. It's to not go to Mexico. If you want to be honest.
Yeah, it's to not to have to leave the US. That's what it's for. Um,
Uh,
Oh,
how,
really quick, talking about those online applications. You're not going to get anything through the mail, guys. If you apply for binding parole in place, you're not going to get a receipt through the mail. You're not
mhm.
going to get your approval through the mail, your biometrics appointment through the mail. None of that's through the mail. All of it is going to be on your USCIS account under documents or notices. If they ask you for biometrics, you have to download it, print it, take it with you to your appointment. If they approve you, you will download it and print it, and that's going to be your proof of your parole in place and your I-94 showing your legal entry.
Yes. Once I make that post today about the
Um,
everybody started going
let's
crazy.
see. Mia Maria says, how long is it for? The parole in place is good for 3 years. That is a hard 3 years, not renewable, no extensions, no exceptions, 3 years. It can be less if you apply for adjustment of status and you get your green card first, because then at that point your parole in place is no longer needed.
Nelly, so we're talking about the Biden's new law. You're talking about the AP under DACA. So you can apply for AP under DACA to go see a sick family member in Mexico. If you have your spouse, and you're ready to go like straightforward AOS, you can apply for PIP, and you do not have to go out of the country. I hope that made sense. But we're gonna save this live, and you guys can go back and watch it. I'm gonna post it all over Facebook. I'm gonna post the link so you guys can hire us. If you have any questions on PIP, you guys can hire us, and you guys can talk to us, and we can try to figure this out. Today was a long day, honestly, on
Yeah.
Facebook.
And just remember, to anyone watching, we don't only deal and have help with or have information for DACA recipients.
Yes,
If you have family members out there that are completely undocumented and they are eligible for the parole in place,
yes,
they will likely have to provide a little more evidence for the physical presence, but let them know that we're here to help them. They can consult with us. We can give them some tips. We can, if they want to tell us, hey, this is the evidence I'm going to send in. Do you think it's good? We can let them know. And if they're a little unsure and they want us to handle the whole thing for them, we can definitely do that as well. Don't
yes.
forget, it's up here, somewhere up here.
Mhm.
We're an accredited organization, guys. If you go on UCS website, you're gonna see all over the place. They're gonna talk about don't get scammed, don't go to notarios. Pay attention to what it says there. It says that the only people who should prepare and give legal advice and can handle your cases legally in terms of representing you legally is one, an immigration attorney, and two, an accredited representative under an accredited organization. So
Which
just
is
make sure you're not,
yeah,
getting scammed out there with notarios and
that's
preparers,
that's a very good one. We are all rushing. We're all trying to get this done. Honestly, I would rather you guys guide yourself with everything that USCIS has than to just go to anybody to do it for you. Because paying somebody 15,000 to do your PIP, it's crazy. Whatever, but do it if you want to do it yourself. Do it yourself. Go on USCIS.gov, and they have a whole list. All the questions you guys are asking us is all there. Um,
they release their own guide. I mean,
they
honestly,
have
people are asking us if we have a guide.
right,
Their
and it's
guide is it. Like their whole guide is the exact form
exactly
and exactly what you need to fill out on the form. There's no other guide that you need besides the one they released themselves. The other thing that you might need help with is figuring out if you're inadmissible,
right.
figuring out if you're eligible, and two, figuring out if the evidence that you're supplying is sufficient. And that's what we're here for. You can reach out to us and we can talk to you about it. We can go over what you're submitting, and that way you feel more confident.
Yes.
And you're handing out a good application, a strong application.
All right. So I think that's it for tonight, Nat.
Yeah,
Thank you
I think we're good.
guys. We went over the 30 minutes. I knew we were going to do that. But thank you guys for watching. The phone number is there. Reach out to us on, Facebook and all our platforms. Make the appointment. Don't waste no time. And you already know. That's it.
Wishing you guys the best.